Start the next recording. Alright. Azusa's Mini Journeys. 1 in a green. Forest Saga. First chapter, you may play an additional land this turn. Second chapter, you gain 3 life. Third chapter, exile this saga, then return to the battlefield transformed under your control. It returns as a 3/3 Likeness of the Seer, enchantment creature human monk. Whenever Likeness of the Seer becomes blocked, untap up to 3 lands you control. That's not a very good creature, but it is an explorer that doesn't draw a card, then gains life, then makes a bad blocker. That seems not good, right? I don't think that's good. Explorer is already fine, but not stellar, and this is probably ultimately much worse than Explorer. Why are these sagas also terrible? I assume because specifically blinking the creature half of it is something they wanted to avoid being too good, so they all tried to power them down, and are mostly played for limited sake instead of constructed. In which case, that does seem like these are not badly designed limited cards. I think that's kind of where the design was oriented to. Yeah, the black vehicle one is like the only one that actually strikes me as actively pretty interesting thus far. Bamboo Grove Archer. 1 in a green, 3/3 enchantment creature snake archer with defender and reach. Channel, 4 in a green, discard Bamboo Grove Archer, destroy target creature with flying. Ward targets abilities too, right? So it counters this ability. I'm like 1,000,000% sure that that's the case, but for some reason I'm not confident on it because my mind, I can feel gone. Whenever a permanent with ward becomes the target of a spell or ability. Yes. Yep, okay. So you cannot Bamboo Grove Archers an Imrith. Seems bad. Bearer of Memory. 2 in a green. 3/2 enchantment creature human monk. 6 mana. Put a +1/+1 counter on target enchantment creature. It gains trample until end of turn. Seems bad. Blossom Prancer. 3 in green. 5 total mana. 4/4 creature spirit with reach. When Blossom Prancer enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature or enchantment card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. If you didn't put a card into your hand this way, you gain 4 life. Okay, what does that do? 5 mana, 4/4 reach. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. Put a creature or enchantment from among them into your hand. If you don't, gain 4 life. Yeah, okay. Not worth 5 mana. Boon of Boseiju. 1 in a green instant. Target creature gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the greatest mana value among permanents you control. Untap it. Huh. Alright. It seems good and limited, but I'm not seeing that work in constructed. This card gives a pretty interesting idea, though. Does Ren does Ren have the ability to fuse with any tree, or specifically with treants? Because the idea of Ren at some point in a storyline fusing with Boseiju, which is more or less the biggest tree out there, that's an interesting idea, right? Somebody should get on writing a fan fiction about that. Speaking of, Boseiju reaches skyward. 3 in a green. Search your library, saga. First chapter. Search your library for up to 2 basic forest cards, reveal them, put them into your hand, then you shuffle. Second chapter. Put up to 1 target land card from your graveyard on top of your library. Okay, that isn't good. Third, exile this, return it. It is a 0/0 with reach that gets ++1 for each land you control. Well, go back. I mean, I guess that's, like, good for limited, but no ramp means bad for constructed. Specifically treants, contrary to normal dryads. Okay. Is this, like, actually a quilt? Do you think they made a physical quilt for this? I know a lot of these sagas have actually been real physical objects that they put onto cards. I wonder if that's the case here. Oh. Careful Cultivation. 2 and a green. Enchantment Aura. Enchant artifact or creature. As long as enchanted permanent is a creature, it gets +1/+3 and has a reach and tap to add 2 green. Channel. 1 and a green. Discard Careful Cultivation. Create a 1/1 green human monk creature token with tap, add green. Huh. I'm confused how Boseiju reaches skyward as the pixelated one in all the cyberpunk-themed blue sagas. Well, I think it's not pixelated, right? If I'm correct, I think this is actually literally a quilt. And this is a type of quilting pattern where you have to do everything in right angles. Or maybe a mosaic tile floor? Alright, let's do some research. Michael Knight. Or Micah One Night, maybe. Thanks for the follow. Glad you're enjoying the stream. Okay, branch. No, hold on. Boseiju reaches skyward. Quilt? Question mark. Boseiju reaches skyward. Art by Zejo Shen. Zejo Shen MTG. Zejo Shen Art Station. They've done a lot of other painting style art. Not seeing any indication that this is actually textile, but there is a wizard's page with a very big version of this that you can zoom in. Seems like maybe tile floor? Maybe? It's more like a mosaic. That's a video that shows the type of craft it is. It's called Hakone Marquetry? Hakone Marquetry. Hakone. Okay. Hakone Marquetry? Oh, it's a woodworking type of thing. Oh, okay. So not quite tiling, but like tiling patterns with woodworking. Neat. That's radical. But okay, so it may have just been inspired by that style and not actually a physical implementation of that style. But I guess woodworking makes sense for literally the tree that is wood. Chris, this review is taking so long. Also, Chris, let's research in great deal the art behind this card. I didn't claim that these take more than 8 hours because I'm good at this. I claim they take 8 hours because I can't stop myself. But not like paper, actual wood? Yeah. 8-hour view that should take 10 minutes, 30 minutes max? No. Even if I actually tried to speedrun these, if I did them with a real amount of input, it would still take like 4 hours. Probably 6. I think the shortest I've ever done these before was like 6 hours. Alright, so Careful Cultivation. 3 mana, enchant a creature. It gets the ability to tap to add 2 green, which could be interesting. But being able to make a 1/1 that taps for green at instant speed and therefore isn't vulnerable to removal, is an interesting 2-drop ability. Like, it's definitely not Llanowar Elves, and it's not quite Paradise Druid, but Careful Cultivation is probably better than, like, a 2-mana 0-3 that taps to add a green, right? And I've played that before. This... I don't think this is, like, good, but this could actually see play as, like, I'm going to play a bunch of 4-drops and I'm desperate to play 2-drop mana ramp. Like, it's not Wolf Willow Haven either. But if you're really, really desperate for Wolf Willow Haven, you'd take the 0-3. The 0-3 might be better. The 0-3 might be better. But it's cute. If the 1-1 didn't have flash. Oh, yeah. I mean, with flash. And also uncounterable. Opponent can't Jwari Disruption your Careful Cultivation that you cycle. Eh? They can't Spikefield Hazard it. Maybe that's not good. But they can't Spikefield Hazard it on your turn with their turn 1 mountain and get a mana advantage. This enables Indomitable Creativity. That is actually really interesting, isn't it? Not only does this enable Indomitable Creativity, but because you don't have to sacrifice it to make the mana, you actually get to turn 2 Careful Cultivation, turn 3 if the stars aligned and all of your lands make red mana, tap it to add green, and then Creativity on turn 3. That's actually, like, good. Potentially really good? I don't know if we have a lot of other reasons to want to go green in those Indomitable Creativity lists, but that's something totally new at a speed that the deck did not previously operate on. That is legitimately interesting to explore. It needs more support than just that to justify going green, but... Alright. We got something to research. And thank you for following as well. Glad you're having fun with the stream. Okay. Coiling Stalker, 1 in a green, 2/1, creature, snake, ninja. Ninjutsu, 1 in a green. Whenever Coiling Stalker deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control that doesn't have a +1/+1 counter on it. Seems probably bad, except that it does go kind of deep into modification synergy, but probably bad. Still seems too weak. Not enough stats for the cost in Constructed. Green also has that land that comes in tapped and always makes a dork. Ooh, well, but that doesn't tap for red, though. And that doesn't really synergize with a Careful Cultivation plan. But that could be interesting as a redundant way to start making creatures. It's not quite as good as the red one that comes in untapped and makes dwarf. But it's potentially interesting. Commune with Spirits. Single green sorcery. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal an enchantment or land card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. That might be good enough for Enchantress in Historic. It's more things in your deck that aren't enchantments, but it does a pretty good job of turning into an enchantment anyway. And in a pinch, gets you your land drops. And finds you your 9 lives faster. Think Enchantress still takes Harvest? Maybe. I mean, I would say it kind of depends on how quickly you need to find specific cards. Harvest more reliably finds a card or a land, but Commune digs to specific combo cards faster. Feel like the top 4 cards is not enough to look at? I mean, top 4 is a lot if the hit is literally every card in your deck except for other copies of Commune with Spirits. So if the only non-hits in your deck are the other 3 Commune with Spirits, then top 4 is guaranteed to never whiff. You will always hit at minimum 3 Commune with Spirits and 1 card that you can take. But I guess the deck does actually play like 4 copies of that 3-drop that draws a card whenever you have an enchantment in the battlefield that isn't an enchantment. Although maybe it doesn't play 4. Maybe it plays like 2. I don't know. I guess you need to cut something for Commune with Spirits. Top 4 not having a land is a big cost. I guess if you're that desperate to find a land, but I don't think you're going to run into that many scenarios where you play turn 1 Commune with Spirits and then didn't have a land and also whiff on the land. And then whiff on a draw step for your land the next turn. Like, that is a cost. I don't know if it's a big cost. Can't play Umori Companion. I don't know if that's actually, like, a downside. Is it? I know that X can play Umori, but is Umori actually good? I would need some convincing of that to see if that's true. Alright, Dragon Kami Reborn. 2 and a green, Saga. First mode, first chapter. You gain 2 life. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Exile one of them face down with a hatching counter on it. Then put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Second chapter, same thing. Third chapter, flip. Dragon Kami's Egg. 0/1 enchantment creature egg. Whenever Dragon Kami's Egg or a dragon you control dies, you may cast a spell from among cards you own in exile with hatching counters on them without paying its mana cost. Alright. This looked like super garbage up until the extreme last second. Umori is good like Giganta is good. It exists and costs nothing. Only, I mean, I guess, but like, in order for that to be true, you have to convince me Giganta is good. And that's not actually something I'm completely willing to admit yet. So you get to look at the top 6 cards of your library. Oh, okay, only creature spells. Right. But so you get to look at the top 6 cards of your library, and then you get a 0/1 that when it dies, you cast a creature from among those top 6 for free. But also or a dragon you control. Meaning, if I put Imrith in my Dragon Kami Reborn deck, I can also cast Imrith, and then when my Imrith dies, I get to play a creature for free. That's like kind of not actually terrible. You need another dragon to die to cast both exiled cards. Yeah, but if this dies and casts 1 5-mana creature, then that's cool. You don't need to cast the second card for this to have been okay as a 3-drop. But also, admittedly, if you have 5-drop dragons in your deck, this thing flips into the egg the same turn you're playing the 5-drop dragon. And then you have a board that's like really hard to board wipe. Because if they board wipe you, you get to cast 2 creatures. Giganta also used to tap to cast Omnath. Okay, so Giganta tapping to cast Niv Mizzet is admittedly like the one Giganta that is good. So slow though? It's kind of slow, that's true. But it gains 4 life. That totally makes up for the slowness, right? Right? Maybe. 4 total 1-drops right now that are pre-modified, by the way. 3 green, Contortionist, Ooze, Swarm, and 1 white Star Pupil. Huh. Should whiff a lot, right? Maybe. I mean, top 6 is a lot if you only need 1 hit, if you don't need both to hit. And it's kind of not super easy to whiff on top 6 looking for a creature. If you want to get full value, then yeah, you're probably not going to hit 2 creatures that often. Because it's not 2 in the top 6, it's 1 in the top 3, 1 in the top 3, which is a lot harder. it's such a blowout if they removed after the second counter. But if they remove Dragon Kami Reborn before it like flips into the egg, they still only removed a 3-drop. Need a lot of 5-drops to make it good. Yeah, I wonder. And that doesn't exactly incentivize you to build a good curve, does it? I mean, I like the idea of playing Dragon Kami Reborn with Imrit, but I don't like the idea of playing 4 Imrits. I guess if like one of the new Mythic Dragons is good, you could like theoretically play 4 of them, because they do sort of legend rule into interesting effects, possibly. How on board are we to just play Dragon Kami Reborn as a 4 of in a deck with 4 Hullbreakers? How do we like that idea? Is that too dumb? And how easily can we kill our own egg to cast our free Hullbreaker? Unfortunately, not super easily in blue-green. But yeah. Is this cast? You may cast a creature spell from among cards you own. So what about Scryfall, Advanced Search, Standard, Creature, Cast, Sort by mana value, Descending. Alright. Because it says cast, we can put Tarask into play, and it is a Ward 10, 10/10 haste that fights whenever it attacks. Are we into that? It doesn't say as an instant, so if they remove the egg on their turn, you're hosed unless it has flash. No. And that's because effects like this, that don't specify a duration in which you're able to cast it as part of the resolution of the ability. And that ignores timing restrictions, because you can't actually play an instant during the resolution of an ability anyway. That's just not a timing where you're allowed to cast spells unless the ability itself specifies that. But so in this case, you cast any creature from Dragon Kami's egg while the ability's resolving. No trample on Tarask? No, but there is the fight. Did I say trample? Yeah, it's a 10/10 with haste, ward 10, and fights whenever it attacks. But, I mean, that's kind of cool. Fight spell kills egg with not much effort. Okay, so we play Blizzard Brawl and put no snowlands in our deck. That's the synergy? I hope Roomty isn't watching this. I'm gonna give him a heart attack. Jadzi, Oracle of Archivos, 6 blue, 5/5 legendary creature, human wizard, magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, reveal the top card of your library if it's a non-land card. You may cast it by paying 1. It's an 8-drop creature, technically. Cyclone Summoner, unfortunately, has a restriction where you have to cast it from hand. We can put Velomachus in play with this thing for our Velomachus deck. That's just probably not a good idea. Honestly, Hullbreaker Horror and Tarask seem like the 2 cards that would be really interesting with this, unless you want to go super deep and play Tiamat, but I don't think I'm crazy enough for that. We're probably going to wind up building a bad deck with this. I think that's unavoidable. Mimikyu. Oh, and Llanowar 69. Thanks for the follows. Glad you're enjoying the stream. Fade into Antiquity. 2 and a green sorcery, exile target artifact or enchantment. Is fine. Too much mana. 4 and collect so you can speed out the next Kami egg. Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? Huh. Yeah, kind of. Limited main deckable? Yeah, that's true. There's actually so many artifact or enchantment creatures that the cost of including a naturalize in your deck isn't really existing in this particular limited environment. Fang of Shigeki. Single green, 1/1 death touch enchantment creature, snake ninja. Alright, well. I don't know if it being an enchantment is like a benefit to any decks that want to play the 1 mana 1/1 death touchers, but here it is. Naturalizing this unloaded would probably be too strong. I'm inclined to agree. Favor of Jukai. 3 and a green, enchantment aura, enchant artifact or creature. As long as enchanted permanent is a creature, it gets +30/+3 and has a reach. Channel 1 and a green, discard Favor of Jukai. Target creature gets +30/+3 and reach until end of turn. Seems bad. Generous Visitor. Single green, creature spirit, 1/1. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. Oh. Huh, okay. It is said that one must modestly refuse a gift 3 times before accepting it to show humility before the kami. Huh. Is that actually a cultural thing in real life? I know there's this, like, idea of culturally respectable modesty in regards to refusing gifts that's like a ritual in many cultures that always struck me as kind of weird. It's part of Japanese culture. Huh. Okay. I never thought of it as like showing humility to spirits. I always thought it was supposed to be like you were supposed to, I don't know, like the idea of it being rude to accept something unless they force it on you is kind of a weird idea, but if that's not the idea behind it, then I guess that makes more sense. Being overtly thankful tends to come off as embarrassing. Huh. I don't want to be judgmental of other cultures, because that actually is sort of a thing in American culture too. And I'm judgmental of it in American culture. Of like, if somebody offers you something and you go, oh, are you sure? And like you're giving them a chance to take it back, is like, I don't know, isn't that actually kind of offensive? Like, what are you implying, that they should go, oh, actually on second thought, no? Like, you're not actually giving them a real option to not offer it to you. You're just like kind of playing a mean-spirited song and dance. I don't know. It's not actually that serious, but maybe I'm just not super good at social interaction. Come to think of it, that also is a possibility. No, you're not. You're just following courtesy norms? Yeah, I mean, if you're following the norms, it's not like you're actually being rude. And to be honest, a lot of like ritualized social interactions aren't really about what you're literally saying. It's just the politeness of going through the ritual. Maybe I wear my heart on my sleeve too much, because I tend to default to just wanting to show authentic emotion and appreciation, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'd be something of a himbo in non-American cultures. You know what? I think I can live with that. I think I could rock the himbo appearance. Geothermal Kami. 3 and a green, 4/3 creature spirit. When Geothermal Kami enters the battlefield, you may return an artifact you control to its owner's hand. If you do, you gain 3 life. A ritual is in a lot of cultures, I feel. I think it is a ritual in, like, probably almost every culture. Which is why I feel slightly more comfortable kind of questioning it, because it is a ritual in the culture I am from and I'm aware of, and I'm questioning it in that context. I don't know. I feel like heartfelt, oh my goodness, thank you, that's so kind of you, is like, that makes me happy. But, I don't know. Etiquette is about making other people happy, not yourself. So, if it makes other people happy, sure. Sure. What always alienated me in North American culture is being asked, how are you doing, without asking person actually wanting to know, like part of small talk. Yeah? Alright, that's true. That's true, isn't it? It's like, it is alienating to feel like someone's going through a ritual and kind of explicitly highlighting, don't actually tell me that it's going poorly, if you feel that implication. Yeah, it's not stellar. Although, from close friends who would actually be interested in hearing you, like, kind of unload your emotional baggage on them, it can be refreshing. But yeah, if you're not close friends, then, oh. In Morocco, accepting gifts is not an option. One time my aunt was trying to buy me a toy and my mom forced me to refuse. Okay, so that's... Is that you're not allowed to accept any gifts? Or is that your parents not allowing you to accept gifts from relatives? Because I have definitely had times growing up where I was given explicit instructions not to accept gifts from relatives who would just self-sacrificingly try to be way too kind at times where they weren't really financially super stable, and that wasn't the right move to accept from them. But that's a very personal experience that I'm reading a lot into there, which, cultural gestures review. Yeah, to go along with our dugong review and helium industrial shortage review, I'm really gonna have to make some stupid video that's literally only the tangents we've gone on, and it's still gonna be like 3 hours long. Any gifts really, but gifts from family you can never accept. Huh. Does that include like special events like birthdays or things like that? Or just in the context of like random gifts? This review is never going to end. Do you want it to end? We could try to make it end faster, but... But where's the fun in that? Just in the context of random gifts. Okay. I suppose, I don't know how common this is to other cultures, but there is very much the American culture of the fight over who gets to pay the bill for food. Why is the Tanuki a dog? Oh, that... We'll get to that. We're going to have take a deeper thought about that, and I'm not going to skip forward in the off tangents, but we will get there. But yeah, the fight about who is going to get to pay the bill for the food. Tricky. And then you get like families that are so into it that they like try to have ninja sneak out moments to go pay the bill while pretending to go use the restroom. Or like your dad decides that they're going to tell the waiter before you actually start the meal, hey, here's $200. I'm going to pay with this $200 before anybody else even has the chance to think about it. And at some point, if you get creative enough with it, it becomes a fun game, but... I don't know. I've gotten to the point where I just started telling my parents, hey, if you don't let me pay for this, I'm just not going to go eat with you because I'm going to feel like I'm taking money from you. So just let me pay for it if I asked you out to a meal. I have to use the same excuse with my grandmother, too. I live in Italy and my family argued over the bill shouting in restaurants. Yeah, I feel like you can have fun with it if that's what you're gonna do, but you gotta make sure not to be disruptive to anybody else, huh? My question then, if you can never accept random gifts, why do people give them? Yeah, that is like the strange conclusion to the idea, isn't it? Holy cow, late stream. Oh yeah. Yeah, we're not gonna be finishing anytime soon. We've been going for 9 hours, and I'm hoping we finish before 12. Never seen another Italian here. Well, I mean, I am streaming like 5 hours later than I have been recently. I suspect that having more of Europe waking up is probably outside of the normal range of the stream. Alright, anyway, geothermal kami. Seems bad, but is, I guess, is this like a hot spring? A giant walking hot spring? Is that the idea? Well, it's neat. It's cool. Are you too late? Too late for the stream? Too late for socks? I don't know. Yeah, actually, I think. We let him out not too long ago. He was getting crazy hyper and didn't want to be stuck in the room with me. Also, we've actually hit the part of the morning where other folks in the house are waking up, which means he's probably hanging out on other people's laps at this point. So in a sense, perhaps too late. In another sense, perhaps too early. At what point does that language start working? Alright, Goshen Tie of Boundless Vigor. 1 and a green for a 1/1 legendary enchantment creature shrine. Trample. At the beginning of your instep, you may pay 1. When you do, put a +1/+1 counter on target shrine for each shrine you control. So 3 mana 2/2 with trample. Seems bad. Goes in the shrine deck. Unsurprising. Grafted Growth. 2 and a green. Enchantment Aura. Enchant land. When Grafted Growth enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature or vehicle you control. Enchanted land has add 2 mana of any color. Seems limited. I do it. Kind of appreciate the art idea here that, hey, here are these trees. We put trees on top of your trees so you could add mana while you tap your trees for mana. Why not? Greater Tanuki. 4 green. 6/5 enchantment creature dog. Trample. Channel. 2 and a green. Discard Greater Tanuki. Search your library for a basic land card. Put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Oh, this... So I played the heck out of Sheffet Monitor, which was 4 green, draw a card, go search your library for a basic or a desert, put it into play. But that did it untapped, and it tutored up deserts that had utility, and it drew a card for 4 mana while ramping you. I don't think uncounterable instant speed ramp and growth is good enough to see play in standard. Unfortunately. Random question. Do you think Light Paws will make the cut for blue-white Spirit Dancer deck in Historic? It might. I don't think it replaces any of the existing 2-drop creatures that draw cards, but I suspect it might make it as like a 2 of, replacing some other random creatures in the deck. Harmonious Emergence. 3 and a green, enchantment aura. Enchant land you control. Enchanted land is a 4/5 green spirit creature with vigilance and haste. It's still a land. If enchanted land would be destroyed, instead sacrifice Harmonious Emergence and that land gains indestructible until end of turn. Seems bad. The art, however, is super creepy, and I hate it. Like, it is so Uncanny Valley. It's really awful. This is the worst. What in the world? I went to sleep watching you almost 8 hours ago. I did say this was probably going to be like a 12-hour stream. I wasn't joking. Skyzo222, thanks for the follow. Glad you're enjoying the stream. Heir of Ancient Fang, 2 and a green for a 2/3 creature snake samurai. Heir of Ancient Fang enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each if you control a modified creature. Seems like limited only. When is this set released? I could Google it, but it's late here in chatting. I believe it launches on Arena this Thursday. Depending on how stable it is when that launch happens, it might be more realistically on Friday. Kind of depends. Sometimes it goes smoothly, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know what the ratio of smooth to not smooth is, historically. Speaking of, Historian's Wisdom. 2 and a green, enchantment aura. Enchant, artifact, or creature. When Historian's Wisdom enters the battlefield, if enchanted permanent is a creature with the greatest... When Historian's Wisdom enters the battlefield, if enchanted permanent is a creature with the greatest power among creatures on the battlefield, draw a card? As long as enchanted permanent is a creature, it gets +2/+1. What? So it's an aura that gives +2/+1 and draws a card if you enchanted your already biggest thing. Or no. If it's the biggest thing after the +2/+1? It can enchant a vehicle. Yes. You could crew the vehicle, then enchant. So if there's a 3/3 in play, if you have a 3/3 and your opponent has a 4/4, if you Historian's Wisdom your 3/3, you draw a card, because by the time it checks, the enchanted creature is a 5/4, I think? That's weird, but okay. Anyway, card's bad, but maybe limited, I don't know. Artifacts resolved in the order it's written. Sort of, if they were going to be like... I think there's a really different layering thing going on there. That I don't... Resolving effects in order is one thing. The order effects apply in is technically a different thing. It's sort of a layers thing, but I don't think it's like literally a layers thing, if that's anything. Hi, I'm new here. Random question. Why do you read mana costs left to right instead of right to left? Isn't the colored part of the mana cost the more important one and therefore should be read first? I don't know necessarily if there's like a reason for it, so much as just English is used to reading left to right. So that kind of is the natural way to convert it. Normal? No. But English, yes. Plenty of other languages don't, though. But I don't disagree with the idea that the colored portion of the mana is the one that's technically more relevant. But... I don't know. So much of it's just convention, and you hear people reading it to you, and then you learn to read it the same way. Plus, I think if you read the number of the generic cost first, then you don't necessarily have to specify generic. So like for Invoke the Ancients, I can say 1 and 4 green. And that kind of makes sense that the 1 is the generic. If I said it 4 green and 1, I would have to like then say 1 generic instead of 1 red. I don't know. Maybe that's not true. I'm definitely not awake enough to actually think about that. Other than, yeah, I guess it's convention. It's an ETB trigger. Well, it's a... going back to Historian's Wisdom, it is an ETB trigger, but it's an intervening if trigger, so it doesn't even go on the stack at all in the first place if the condition wasn't true. The correct way is one generic green, 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 green. Yeah. Alright. 1 and 4 green. Sorcery. Create 2, 4, 5 green spirit creature tokens. For each of them, put your choice of a vigilance counter or reach counter or trample counter on it. So that is potentially a little confusing. You get 2 4 5s. You could give both of them a vigilance counter, or both of them a reach counter, or both of them a trample counter. You don't get to distribute the 3 counters separately amongst the 2 permanents, so you can't end up with one with vigilance and one with reach and trample. This card dies to Divine Purge. It does, I guess. I'm not super interested in playing this in Alchemy or Historic for sure. But we don't have to worry about Divine Purge in Standard. I mean, this is kind of interesting. Especially in the context of our friend Upriser Renegade that we wanted to play in a Halana and Elena deck. I mean, we definitely probably can't play the quadruple green card in that aggro list, but this does make 2 modified permanents. 2 modified permanents. Ooh. It's probably still not good enough, but it's interesting. What does Roomty think of it? Huh. I don't know. I mean, that is a lot of stats. But then again, our 5-drop slot right now is kind of competed with in mono green, right? Is this card better than Unnatural Growth? I have no clue. My guess would be this is probably not better than Unnatural Growth, but unsure. I woke back up, or are you really going to power through the whole set? I guess. Maybe. I don't feel like I'm falling asleep yet, and I've already given up on the idea of getting a YouTube video uploaded tonight, so there's not going to be anything uploading on Sunday. So, maybe. And I'm just going to wake up in like 12 hours and then do all the editing then. So, yeah. Is it in addition to Unnatural Growth? No, I don't think you can cut any lower cost cards to play this, in addition to more 5-drops. Elena and Elena plus Mirror Box plus Bard class, 25 damage from an empty board, 4 mana. I'm assuming Mirror Box is probably a card we haven't gotten to yet then. Might be interesting. It's more stable than Unnatural Growth at least. Yeah, but Unnatural Growth pushes through more damage with the creatures on board. And if you're playing mono green, you're probably playing with an expiration date on how quickly you have to end the game with the mid-rangey board wipe stuff that's in vogue, I suppose, right now. And giving your random low-cost tramplers doubled power is a lot more hasty than invoking the Ancients. My guess is that probably doesn't end up making Invoke the Ancient playable, if that's the case. But, I don't know. Alright, Jugon defends the temple. 2 and a green. Create a 1/1 green human monk creature token with tapped at a green. 2. Put a 1/1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. 3. Exile this saga, return to the battlefield transformed. Remnant of the Rising Star. 2/2 flying enchantment creature dragon spirit. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay X. When you do, put X +1/+1 counters on that creature. When you do? Is that the same thing as an intervening if, or is that like slightly functionally different? Does it not make a... Weird. As long as you control 5 or more modified creatures, Remnant of the Rising Star gets +5/+5 and has trample. This is slow. 3 mana Llanowar Elf. Then puts 2 +1/+1 counters on something on turn 4. Lets you play a 5-drop on turn 4, so does totally curve into Brennan 7? And then starts dumping mana into stuff and eventually turns into a 7/7 flyer, if you're lucky. I don't know, maybe? This might be sort of almost playable in a mid-range shell. Maybe. There's no point saying if because you always pay X. I guess you could pay X. But you could choose not to pay 0. I think this saga has something to do with the egg. As in, like, lore-wise or synergy? I'm not really seeing much in the way of synergy between the two. It is May, so you can decide not to pay mana. I agree with that. The interesting thing to me is when you do. That wording is, as far as I'm aware, usually if you do. And it's what's would be an intervening if clause. But when you do is an interesting difference. So it makes another trigger. Well, intervening ifs would make another trigger. I don't know if this does, because it's technically not an intervening if, I guess. I don't know. 5 modified creatures is a lot. Probably not going to happen, although this does modify some creatures, and the second mode, or the second chapter modified 2 creatures. My gut is this isn't good, but if you go real deep on mid-range green stuff, and for some reason I mean, okay, so if you turn 2 play creature, turn 3 play this, turn 4 put a counter on the monk token and the other 2-drop, and then I don't know, like turn 5 play chariot, put counters on cats, and that's like 4 modified creatures. If you somehow have a way to put a counter on this, it does count itself as one of the modified creatures. Well, it doesn't seem like good. Doesn't seem good. And Jukai Preserver, 3 and a green for a 3/3 enchantment creature human dryad. When Jukai Preserver enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Channel, 2 and a green, discard Jukai Preserver, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures you control. That doesn't seem good. Jukai Trainee, 1 and a green, 2/2, creature human samurai. Whenever Jukai Trainee blocks or becomes blocked, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. That doesn't seem good. Kami of Transience, 1 and a green, 2/2, creature spirit. Trample. When you cast an enchantment spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Kami of Transience. At the beginning of each instep, if an enchantment was put into your graveyard from the battlefield this turn, you may return Kami of Transience from your graveyard to your hand. Huh, okay, wait, hold on. I mean, that's not terrible, actually, right? I mean, 2/2 for 2 that can become a 3/3 pretty easily, and then comes back randomly later on. That's like a decent combination of gets stats and gets recursion. I mean, it's a matter of the opportunity cost of playing enchantments in your deck and what 2-drops you're not playing, but that could be played in the right list and not be bad. Could work. Could work. Could work. Kapatek Wrecker, 1 and a green, 1/3 creature turtle ninja. Ninjutsu, 1 and a green. Kapatek Wrecker enters the battlefield with a death touch counter on it, so that is a modified 2-drop. Whenever Kapatek Wrecker deals combat damage to a player, you may remove a death touch counter from it. When you do, exile target artifact or enchantment that player controls. Alright. That's an interesting combination of abilities that are actually kind of decent. I mean, 2 mana 1/3 Death Toucher is not too bad on its own. No, not a Ninja Turtle. For legal copyright reasons, not a Ninja Turtle. It is a Turtle Ninja. They very specifically made sure to list the creature types in the correct order. There's a decent amount of enchantment creatures in the set too, right? Although, I don't know how many are constructed playable. Yeah? I mean, in the context of Limited, the Naturalize effect here I think is a lot more interesting. In the context of Standard or older formats, I don't know. We've got a lot of other naturalized creatures, and the fact that this is mostly blockable if you just play it out normally means that it's not super reliable as naturalize. Although you have the ninjutsu aspect, but even then that's not like completely reliable. I don't think this is what you want if you're looking for a naturalize. But it is extremely cool. Kodama of the West Tree. 2 and a green, 3/3. Legendary creature spirit. Reach. Modified creatures you control have trample. Okay, so just anything with +1/+1 counters as trample is kind of neat. Whenever a modified creature you control deals combat damage to a player, search your library for a basic land, then put it onto the battlefield tapped and shuffle. Okay. Well, now, that's actually kind of super interesting. Basic is a restriction, but anything with a +1/+1 counter starts rampant growthing on damage and has trample? Huh. That actually goes kind of wild, kind of fast, right? Like, if you just happen to connect with 3 creatures in a turn, that's a huge mana ramp. And the base case is that you have a 3 mana 3/3 reach. Like, that's not good, but that's still okay. Felidar Retreat? Oh, alright. Yes, that is absolutely an idea. Green-white Felidar Retreat with Kodama of the West Tree. Alright. I'm on board. Oh, and the lands entering triggers more Felidar Retreat triggers? Okay. Alright. That does actually sound like a deck. The only problem is you can't run 4 Kodamas. Maybe that's an acceptable cost, though. Kuda the Boundless Sky. 3 green for a 4/4 legendary creature dragon spirit flying death touch. When Kura the Boundless Sky dies, choose 1. Search your library for up to 3 land cards, reveal them, put them in your hand, then shuffle, or create an XX green spirit creature token where X is the number of lands you control. If this thing cost 4, I might be interested, but 5 mana seems way too much for that. Seems kind of bad. March of Burgeoning Life. X and a green instant. Is an additional cost to cast this spell. You may exile any number of green cards from your hand. The spell costs 2 less to cast for each card exiled this way. Choose target creature with mana value less than X. Search your library for a creature card with the same name as that creature. Put it on the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle. With mana value less than X. So if I want to copy a 2-drop, I have to spend 4 mana? This one's hard to evaluate. So in a situation where you have some combo off of getting 2 of the same creature, then the fact that you can discard green cards to power this out faster is kind of interesting. Like, so turn 4, let's say you have some combo where you play a 3-drop, and then you march a Burgeoning Life, exiling 2 green cards to copy the 3-drop. And if that somehow combos off with 2 copies of the same 3-drop, then this is a really interesting combo piece that could actually be played. But if you're doing anything even remotely fair with this, it seems like total garbage. But in that one specific nonsense combo case, where this is the 8th copy of a 4-drop, you need to find 2, or if this is copies 5 through 8 of a 3-drop you need to find 2 copies of, then this is a really good card. But like, that is a very specific thing that you have to pull off. But maybe decks like Life Gain Combo could like this. I don't think so, because Life Gain Combo doesn't want 2 copies of the same creature. This is very specifically a card that is good if you need 2 copies of the same creature to combo. Which, I can't think of anything that exists right now that wants that, but this is the kind of toolbox card that goes from very bad in 99% of decks to busted in 0.1% of decks very quickly. Maybe Neoform? I don't think Neoform's combo works that way. Right? Right, yeah. Yeah, I can't think of any examples that come to mind of that make this card busted, but maybe. Oh, I'll have to do some thinking about that later. Master's Rebuke. 1 in a green instant. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. So this is the first time we've actually had a punch at instant speed, right? For 2 mana that I can think of. And it hits planeswalkers. Ram through. Yep. We already had Ram through. This is true. This does hit planeswalkers. It's probably not good enough, but it's interesting. Bite effects are okay and limited, not so great elsewhere. That's mostly true. You need something else pushing it through to be good. Hitting a planeswalker is something. Being instant speed is something. And in the case of Snowbite, I guess that's technically a fight, not actually a bite. Although giving a creature indestructible is kind of like making it into a bite. I'm going to end this comparison now. Orochi Merge Keeper. 1 in a green for a 1/1 creature snake druid. Tap to add a green. As long as Orochi Merge Keeper is modified, it has tap to add 2 green. Okay. That doesn't seem worth it, but interesting. Rolling Earth. 1 in a green enchantment. When a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature or vehicle you control. Channel. X green, discard Roaring Earth, put X +1/+1 counters on target land you control. It becomes a 0/0 green spirit creature with haste. Still a land. That seems bad, probably. I mean, like, it does modify a lot of stuff very quickly, but that doesn't seem... Roaring? Roaring, not roiling. Fair enough. Still seems kind of bad, though. Season of Renewal. 2 in a green for an instant. Choose one or both. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Return target enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. Okay. Seems too slow, but cool. Shigeki Jukai Visionary. 1 in a green for a 1/3 legendary enchantment creature snake druid. 1 in a green. Tap. Return Shigeki Jukai Visionary to its owner's hand. Reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You may put a land card from among them onto the battlefield tapped. Put the rest into your graveyard. Channel XX green. Discard Shigeki They don't even say the name again. I don't know if I've ever seen that before. Return X target non-legendary cards from your graveyard to your hand. Huh. That's kind of interesting, actually. I was not super interested in this card until that channel effect. That's actually uncounterable card advantage, but very expensive. And it does not say permanence. It can get back counter spells. Yeah, the channel effect costs a lot of mana with the double X, but this is also wicked horribly slow to use, huh? It's 4 mana to put a land into play. And it can whiff. It sucks that I don't think this is good enough and it's too slow as a ramp card, because that channel ability is actually kind of interesting. But gosh, the front face is so slow. Maybe if I put it into the battlefield untapped, it'd be interesting. Then it wouldn't be horribly expensive. But as it stands, I really want to get to the point where I'm getting like 3 cards back with this channel. That's a dream I want to live, but I don't think we can pull it off. It seems too slow. Bummer. Spinning Wheel Kick. XX green. Sorcery. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to each of X target creatures and or planeswalkers. Probably too slow and too easy to blow out, but cool and limited. Spinning Wheel Kick seems good. That's a green board clear, maybe for mono green. Kind of, but like 6 mana is way too much for constructed board clears when you're going to get blown out by removal spells that cost 1 or 2 mana. Unfortunately. Your board clear in mono green currently is still much more in the realm of just play unnatural growth, swing with everything, make the opponent block with all their creatures or they die. And if that's not a good enough board wipe, I don't think you're getting there. Springleaf Avenger. 3 green, creature, insect, ninja, 6/5. Ninjutsu, 3 and a green. Whenever Springleaf Avenger deals combat damage to a player, return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Alright, well, I mean, if you're ninjutsuing this in as a 6/5 for 4 mana, and returning a card to your hand, that is actually interesting. That's a lot of stats. And does draw a card. I want to say this is bad, but if I'm being honest, it does actually seem okay. I think this might actually be alright. Is this something that people play around when blocking? Maybe. I mean, like, if it's a known meta card, yes. But that might make them, like, make bad blocks, not good blocks. Kind of seems like a limited card. I don't know. 4 mana for a 6/5 is a lot of stats. Like, if your opponent doesn't block your random 1-drop 2/1, and you just put a 6/5 in play instead, that's a big deal. I think we're having 2 separate conversations in chat about Springleaf looping and Shigeki looping. I'm assuming Shigeki links with Season of Renewal, and Shigeki loops with Springleaf Avenger. But turns out green does a lot of returning stuff from the graveyard to hand, eh? I'm actually kind of interested in Springleaf, if I'm being honest. I think that card might have potential. But I do have a question about what is going on with the art. There's like a pink ant head behind the hood. Is the pink goo the ant, or what's happening? The antenna seem to be coming from the pink thing behind the ant. It's extremely confusing what's going on there. Because those look like ears. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're horns. Is this supposed to be some kind of insect with a pink stand behind it? Is that what's happening? We'll get answers the next time we're on Kamigawa, don't worry. Oh. Failed cases you have for 5-drop without a haste in your aggro deck? Yeah, but if your aggro deck isn't connecting with creatures that are unblocked, is your aggro deck functioning at all anyway? I don't know. I mean, I agree that just hard casting this is not exciting, but... Do insects have enough support to be a viable tribe now? No, I don't think there's any tribal support for insects that I can think of. Unless you mean in the context of, like, as a tribe in a commander deck, which is kind of a different question that I'm not equipped to ask. Or answer. Mostly answer. Story Weave. 2 and a green instant. Choose one. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature you control. Put 2 lore counters on target saga you control. The next time one or more enchantment creatures enter the battlefield under your control this turn, each enters with 2 additional +1/+1 counters. Huh. What? The next time one or more enchantment creatures enter your battlefield under your control this turn. Is there a saga that makes 2 enchantment creatures at the same time? How else would you even sequence this to get 2 enchantments at the same time to turn into creatures? I have no... It does immediately flip sagas. The confusing part to me is the 1 or more that I don't entirely feel like I grok here. I guess it would be confusing if it just said 1 and you somehow managed to make 2 enter the battlefield at the same time, what you were supposed to do. Strange. Strange. Doesn't seem good, though. Tales of Master Seshiro. 4 and a green for Saga. First chapter, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature or vehicle you control. It gains vigilance till end of turn. Second chapter, same thing. Third chapter, exile it, return it. Seshiro's Living Legacy. 5/5 enchantment creature, Snake Warrior with vigilance and haste. Seems bad. Go into 2 enchantment creatures. I guess. So you put 2 counters on a saga, and then somehow that saga does something that isn't flipping into a enchantment creature because it's an older saga. Because this kind of flips every existing saga from this set, I think. I don't think there's anything that has more than 3 chapters that I can think of. And then you play multiple enchantment creatures at the same time, I guess? I guess maybe the intention isn't that you can do that so much as just covering their bases if you somehow figure out a way to do it. Tamiyo's Safekeeping. Single green instant. Target permanent you control gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. You gain 2 life. I like this. It's like a fixed version of all those other protection spells because it doesn't hurt me more for trying to kill something. This is like the kind and fair way to do it, but also it gets to stop board wipes in exchange. That's like super polite. I like it. No more giving a creature +2/+2 and killing me just because I tried to remove it. Radical. I think there's a bad red saga on Theros that has 4 chapters. Oh yeah, there's definitely sagas that have more than 3 chapters. I'm just not sure if there's sagas in this set that have more than 3 chapters. At least none that I can recall. To keep the reality chip out of Jin Gataxias' hands, the Wanderer entrusted it to Tamio. So, I get the story implication that doesn't go super good, probably. Teachings of the Kirin, 1 in a green. Saga, first chapter, mill 3 cards, create a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token. Second chapter, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Third chapter, exile this. Turn it into a creature. It is Kirin Touched Orochi, a 1/1 enchantment creature snake monk. Whenever Kirin Touched Orochi attacks, choose 1. Exile target creature card from a graveyard. When you do, create a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token. Or exile target non-creature card from a graveyard. When you do, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Huh. Okay. So for 2 mana you get a 1/1. Then you modify that 1/1. And you milled 3 cards. If that's somehow beneficial to you. Then you get a 1/1 that makes more 1/1s. I guess this goes really wide. If that's something you want to do. And randomly hates on the graveyard. This seems like a weird card that's doing a bunch of disconnected things that don't immediately have an obvious payoff. But I guess maybe this could be something that you're interested in doing for reasons that aren't immediately obvious to me, but going wide is a thing. Felidar Retreat plus Kodama plus Teachings. Yeah, I guess this goes super wide for Felidar Retreat, technically. Teachings makes a 1/1 and then immediately modifies it, so if your turn 3 is Kodama, then you're attacking with a modified 2/2 on turn 3. Is Safekeeping better than Veil? No, probably not. Not unless, Wrath of God effects are a huge deal in the format that you need to protect. But Veil actually being a combat trick makes it a lot more main deckable, and being additional power means you actually successfully clock the control decks more, and even just being the difference of 1 turn in 5% of the games where you cast it is a pretty big deal. Yeah, Teachings could be the glue of some yet-to-appear deck. I mean, I do kind of like the idea of curving Teachings into Kodama, provided that they don't have a way to deal with a 2/2, which is a bit of an ask. That is actually, totally a reasonable curve. That even lets you play Felidar Retreat on turn 3, on turn 4, and then make your land drop after playing it on turn 4. So, you get to then put a counter on the Kirin Touched Orochi and on the Kodama. So then on turn 4, you're swinging with 2 modified creatures. That doesn't sound exciting, but it is something. Maybe. Weaver of Harmony, 1 in a green for a 2/2 enchantment creature snake druid. Other enchantment creatures you control get +1/+1. Green and tap, copy target activated or triggered ability you control from an enchantment source. You may choose new targets for the copy. Mana abilities can't be targeted. I mean, I guess you get to copy Saga triggers. I'm not seeing any immediate use other than I guess this is an anthem for enchantment creatures for a deck that cares about that, and it's not legendary, so it plays well with itself. I'm not directly sure what triggered ability from an enchantment source is interesting. Well, hold on. I guess, it does copy things like Shigeki's Channel, because that's technically an enchantment source for an ability. Copies Saga abilities. Copy the draw from an enchantress. Yeah. which I guess is worth paying 1 mana. Copies any channel abilities from enchantment creatures. Copy Felidar retreat triggers, that's true. I guess. That's a weird card. I mean, this definitely has potential. If nothing else, then the synergy with itself is interesting. Maybe? Copy Binding's first trigger. Oh, so for 5 mana you get to Ixalan's Binding something and hit 2 permanents? Yeah, alright. Well, I don't know if that's good, but there's a lot of interesting directions you can take this thing, huh? Copy an ETB from a Vanishing Light? Yeah. Alright. Maybe. Web Spinner Cuff. 2 and a green for a 1/4 artifact creature enchantment spider. Has reach. Equipped creature gets +1/+1/+4 and has reach. Reconfigure 4. Seems mostly like a limited card, but probably a reasonable limited card. And with that, we're done with green. Once again, got there in under an hour and a half. Oh yeah, we're picking up speed.